Greetings and salutations. Welcome out there. It's David Duford, owner of the Ford Insurance Group, where we train and recruit agents nationally to sell final expense Medicare, annuities, and ACA. Thanks so much for being here. I'm with a new friend in the business, Mr. Alex. He has questions. I have answers. This is a continuing segment that we do with different agents in all walks of life to kind of answer their questions on anything and everything when it comes to selling insurance. So, Alex, first, say hello.
Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for having me, David. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. Well, what can I do for you today?
So we're coming up on a pretty important season for health insurance, right? With ACA and Medicare. And I was hooked onto Medicare when I started watching your videos.
Right.
And then Luis got me all excited about ACA.
Right.
So I just want to make sure I'm not taking on too much. And
Right.
maybe we can make a plan so I can make the best out of the upcoming AEP and OEP.
Okay. So you're here today basically to figure out the best course of strategy moving forward.
Yeah. So currently, for a little bit of background, I own Gutter Support, which is a gutter cleaning company. And I have a partner in the business. So like right now, we make okay money, enough to pay the bills, feed our families. We're coming up on our busy season, which I'm off the truck. He's on the truck still.
Mm-hmm.
During our busy season, I actually don't have as much responsibility because all the work gets booked now into the fall season.
Right.
So it's actually perfect for me to pick up something during the AEP of Medicare or OEP of ACA because it's right where I don't have a lot of responsibility and I have other time to commit to things. So with that being said, I do have limited resources.
Right.
And I wanted to know, like, when would you start buying direct mail leads for AEP? Because I can only, once I finish AHIP, I can't even do 2022, I don't think. I can only do 2023 plans.
So I would start exactly 5 weeks mailing, even maybe 6 weeks mailing before I intended to start working. So if you start at open or annual election period for Medicare, which, by the way, if you're watching this, that's the biggest time of year to sell Medicare. So when everybody can switch their plans. So it just makes the most logical sense to sell then. You want to, that starts October 15th. So I would say at least second week of September, I'm dropping mail.
Okay.
One thing I've heard through the grapevine, just to throw this out there too, response rates start to fall through AEP because picture the senior, the senior who is on Medicare has been papered to death for months now. And the likelihood, that doesn't mean they won't, and some will for sure, but the likelihood of their response starts to drop because they probably, if they're interested, filled out a form and sent it back. So I'd say kind of as like a pro tip is to kind of front load the lead gen, get some leads out there to get a better response rate, to factor for the fact that by November and into December that the response rate is going to slow down a little bit just because people have made their minds up and have kind of been buried in postcards as it is.
Okay, so when you say front load, let's say I have $8,000 to spend. You're talking like $1,000 a week for 8 weeks, and then just ride that through the AEP. Keep calling the old leads.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I do. Because then you'll stop probably about a month out. You'll still get leads coming there. They'll dwindle in, just over time. But it's like you want that tsunami effect, the big splash of water, and you're still going to get water after that, right? But that big hit is important early on just to keep you busy. And as a bigger principle of this business, you got problems all the time in this business, right? You got problems if you're sucking wind and you're not doing well. You got problems if you're doing well. Like there's no businesses are without problems. So what I want and where I'm going with this is I want you to have the best problems to deal with, not the worst problems. The best problem is what? It's too many people to see. If you call me every week, Alex, you're like, my God, I've got 50 leads coming in. I can only run 20 appointments. I got my gutter business to do. I don't know what to do, but you're writing 10, 15 apps. You know what? Life is good.
Yeah.
You know what? Better than the alternative, the worst problem, which is, Dave, I don't have any leads. I don't have anything to do. I really want it, but I'm just standing around doing nothing. That's the worst thing. So in a world of problems, let's have the best ones.
Cool. And because I was worried, because I know in a lot of videos you say always keep your pipeline going, like always throw some money so you always have mail going out. But it's okay, like someone getting started in the business, front load, try to write a bunch of business, build that book, and then maybe for OEP I can start throwing more money back at it.
Yeah, different setup now. At that point, yeah, you want a recurring order, and I'd start dropping for OEP beginning of December, somewhere in there. To anticipate the beginning of open enrollment period. For those who are new to Medicare, this is the first 3 months of the year. This is where seniors can elect to change their plans after they've received them. So it's basically a second annual election period, really what it is. So it's a great opportunity to sell. You should be selling it just as much as you do annual election period, in my opinion.
Cool. And that leads into my next question, which is there's obviously different periods, AEP, OEP, and then between the AEP and OEP, is that just completely dead? You can't do anything there, or can you do SEPs in there?
You can do SEPs, but I mean, realistically, a lot of people just an agent has really worked like 6 to 7 days a week. A serious person who doesn't, somebody who doesn't have another business. You're serious, but you get what I'm saying? Like somebody who's fully committed to this business, they should have been working 6 days a week, 12, 15 hours a day. Those last couple of weeks of the year, they usually chill out. It's vacations, Christmas, holidays, right? So things kind of just slow down. But yeah, you could conceivably do SEPs for sure.
Okay. And then now, how does being in the home during AEP, OEP, or later in the year for an SEP, how does that sales process differ?
You mean, so let me make sure I understand. So you're selling face to face, but how does selling face to face differ between AEP, OEP, and SEP, right?
Yeah. So like when I'm in the house, how is that conversation different during those periods?
I think it's pretty much the same. I think it's more apparent what you're trying to do during annual election period because everybody knows there's so much money, billions of dollars probably at this point spent on marketing to tell everybody, hey, annual election period's up. Think about switching your Medicare. So people are open-minded to it. It's like as if there was a time where everybody could buy life insurance and all the big companies put money behind marketing. So I think it's a much more direct way to start and help people to get into that side of the business and have a more direct conversation about changing. OEP is very similar in my opinion because people get the plans and they may not like them and they may consider switching. SCP is a little bit different. We go in there and we start to investigate their circumstances financially that may trigger, in most cases financially, that may trigger a special election period. So we'll ask them what they think about their plan. How do they think about their benefits? What don't they like about it? And then we'll have some conversations about income, if they got any chronic health issues, et cetera, that may qualify them for chronic plans or special election periods. It's a little bit more deliberate, in my opinion, during special election period, kind of that interview process than AEP and then OEP.
Cool. And then as far as leads go, you swear by the direct mail leads. You think they're the best in the business from what I've
100%.
seen from your videos.
Right.
So what about if you were to sell over the phone, do you have any Medicare leads like live transfer agents, anything like that, like you do with life insurance?
Yeah, I have access to some TV lead live transfers. The problem is, first of all, I'm leery of recommending. So a couple of things. So live transfers are leads that call you. There's different variations of them. TV leads are those that originate off of commercial. Think of the Joe Namath or the Montel Williams or William Shatner. Like all these people now are, they're endorsing some Medicare plan, right? So they call that number, you pick it up. You're talking to somebody who's at the peak, level of interest. It's a great lead. There's other variations of live transfers, and you guys should be very careful with this in the Medicare field because there's questions of how the lead is originated. You can also do warm transfers which are live transfers. But what happens is that a call center calls on a group of names, data, quote unquote, we'll talk about that in a minute, qualifies them as being interested, then transfers them to you. The problem with that is you cannot cold call any sort of Medicare recipient to sell the Medicare Advantage. It's expressly non-compliant. And there's a lot of gray area in leading a conversation to start with something like Medicare in general than scoping them to do Medicare Advantage on a live transfer. I'd just be very leery of that. If I were to do live transfers, which I wouldn't, and I'll tell you why in a minute, I would just do TV ones because they're calling you directly. They're expressing interest right away. Now, the problem with TV transfers and Medicare, here's the problem. The problem is they're probably pretty good. I would have imagined the close rate's got to be fantastic on them. But the problem with them is that the acquisition cost is too high compared to direct mail. You may pay as an individual agent $60 to $80 for a TV lead, just is going to depend. A good agent probably going to close 1 out of 3, maybe 1 out of 4, right? So if it's 1 out of 4 and it's $60 each, that's $240, right? 6 times 4, $60 times 4 is 240. Well, if you're flipping somebody out of their, Medicare Advantage plan, you're going to lose money on that. You will. I mean, right, pretty soon early on in the year, after like the first quarter, you're operating at break even, and then you're rapidly losing money. And so this is why I think you see more of the live transfer stuff with call centers. You don't see it as much with individual agents because acquisition costs are so high. That's why we do direct mail. Our acquisition cost on direct mail for face-to-face or telehealth is probably, before any subsidies from carriers or the subsidy program that we have, probably, I mean, some agents will pay anything, but I would say a good agent that's not great but not bad, 50 to $100. I mean, it's a much more affordable venture, and that's something you got to manage, because that's the problem with Medicare in the first year, and to the second, to an extent, is cash flow. You'll operate at a deficit. Most people just can't do it.
Yeah, that I think I'm lucky enough to have this business going to where I can probably front load that cash flow for the first 6 months to a year of my career and hopefully blossom into something better.
Sure.
So absolutely. I think that covers all my questions for Medicare. So I want to talk about some ACA. Now with ACA, I'm in Rhode Island, and the CMS had something where like it said my state was for free training, but I haven't seen any carriers. Like you guys, your agency doesn't have any carriers that sell in Rhode Island, unless I missed it.
I'd have to check into that. Some of the states are more limited in ACA options for sure.
Yeah, I know, like my health insurance, I go through the marketplace that the state provides. It's not even the federal marketplace. I think it's like hooked up. It's probably just some political things in there.
It could be.
Now, so would you say that it's different? So like if I wanted to sell ACA, I'd have to sell in a state like Florida, Georgia, Texas, the bigger states that it's more popular in.
I would. I mean, part of this is more options too. I think that's helpful.
Yeah. Now, what about, because I know Medicare is super regulated, especially with the cold calling, but with ACA, it's kind of open, right?
Yeah, but the problem for cold calling is, if you go that route, is that nobody's really, like, who's under 65, nobody really is on the do not call list, or not on the do not call list. Most everybody is.
Very small.
Very few people have landlines, because that's the only, if they're not on a do not call list, that's the only one you can call. You cannot legally call cell phones. So, and I'll tell you this here. This is something I want you to consider too. I am presented with you, a successful businessman that's running a successful company. We're parlaying some of your valuable time into an endeavor that will require all of your effort and energy, Medicare. The idea of bringing on ACA, or more openly, the idea of complicating a business model anymore, considering where you're at, as exciting as it is, and I think it's a great opportunity. This is where you're going to have to put blinders on and choose, in my opinion, what's best suited for you. I want you to survive and thrive in this business. And one of the things that takes agents out prematurely is they try to be everything to everybody immediately. And it's just, not a good strategy. It's better. And you see this with top producers. Most top producers do one thing really freaking good. They spend all their time doing it. They may even pass up on business. I mean, I see Medicare guys that we have that are writing 500 to 800 plans a year, and they don't even look at final expense, which drives me nuts. But I know from a performance standpoint, that's the mind of a top producer. They are so laser focused on that one thing that that's all their time and effort is put into. So I think of that with you, but you have the added burden, in a sense, of running your other business, which you depend on for cash flow. You know what I mean? So I in a sense, would recommend, really just sticking to Medicare. If you're going to sell ACA, I would cross-sell that to the people that you see during Medicare and offer those plans to those people who maybe have spouses under 65 that can't start Medicare.
Gotcha.
That would be a more simplistic approach.
I was thinking about that, but the limitation for Rhode Island, because I'm going to be doing Medicare in Rhode Island, because obviously face-to-face, so.
Correct.
Cool. So I don't know if you want to keep this going. I might have a couple more.
Yeah, we got 10 more minutes. Questions. Whatever you like. 10 minutes, sure.
Cool. All right. So, how long on average are you in a house for with Medicare?
My agent's probably an hour to an hour and a half. It'll be longer in the beginning
Okay.
because Medicare requires a lot of detective work, like what prescriptions you're taking, what doctors do you have. You're going to have all these options presented to you. And we've got a service called Sunfire that you can use to help shop this around. But it's not like simple. There's a level of complication to it.
Mm.
And you just have to accept it's going to take you time to do all these like moving parts. But again, just like anything in life, the more you do it, the easier it gets and the less time it consumes.
Yeah. And I think that's what kind of piqued my interest with ACA is it seemed like a quicker, easier process.
Right.
Yeah, so that's probably why I was looking at it more.
Sure, for sure.
Now I also saw some videos. You were the first person I kind of saw on YouTube with Medicare, and then there's a couple of people you have introduced me to through your videos that I've seen. And I saw one video where like the regulations are supposed to like increase a little bit because of the call centers, the Joe Namaths and all that.
Right.
Um, Now, how do you, as an agent, a Medicare agent, how are you supposed to think about these things? Because it can be scary to think like now the first minute, say when I walk into a house, I have to say all these things that are just weird to say to people the first minute you're in a house with them.
Sure, sure. So this is just my perspective on this. Hold on one second. Go, hey honey. What are you looking for? A blue pen. Here, take this. All right. Bye. Talking to an agent. Love you. Bye. Probably leave that in there.
That's cool. I got 3 myself. I know how it is.
Cool. All right. Okay. So, great question. So there are several different types of personalities in this business. There's kind of like the canary in the coal mine, kind of, oh my God, the sky is falling, kind of Chicken Little stuff. It's all over. It's over, folks. There's no more business anymore, and that's silly. It's overreactive. Don't be that way. Here's the thing that I would ask everybody here who's concerned about this, and it's a completely relevant question. Wait for the carriers to give you guidance on what to do. The carriers ultimately are the arbiter, and they're the ones that I believe are at most risk to this. So they have a vested interest in getting clarity on how to address you guys to go sell. What we're faced with here, in a sense, is just basically you're clarifying you don't have all the plans and you have to record it. It's not the end of the world that you state that stuff at some point in the call. I know one carrier said you have to state it within, I think like a minute of the call. So I think that's reasonable. They're not saying you pick up the phone and then, you start your disclaimer thing, right? So I think this is not going to be that big of a deal. It's actually probably a really, really good thing that's needed, because what the call centers have done is they have abused the lead generation system. There's so many call centers that work with these overseas call centers to generate leads non-compliantly, that bend, if not break, the rules of calling. They churn business, meaning they replace business to the point of absurdity over and over again. And they drive people mad. And you just see it as evidence in all the complaints that have come through CMS. It's like been a tripling of the complaints. So I think this is going to be more targeted towards the call centers. I think that's my opinion, that's the intention of it, because they're the ones that perpetrate a lot of these problems. It's not you. It's not the individual agent. It's these mega call centers that they're just crazy with what they're doing. So try to relax, everybody, if you're concerned about it. I'm not. This is the best time to sell. Every business model has opportunities, has setbacks. Setbacks are an opportunity to a certain extent to retool, do well. So, just follow what the carriers say. My guess, my belief is it's not going to prevent you from doing business. It's not that great of a problem.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that. So if you want to just circle back towards like my budget for leads, does the price right now reflect the price that will be there for AEP, or does that change?
The lead price?
Yeah, your leads.
Yeah, so we've recently shifted our lead practice up a little bit. We used to have an internal lead solution. We don't now. So now we're
Okay.
referring you. We've got like 3 or 4 mail houses that you can deal with, and they're all on a per 1,000 mailer basis. Probably, I think, roughly 500 to 525 per 1,000. But response rates are pretty good, so that your average lead cost, it's going to be dependent upon the state you're in. I would say somewhere between $25 to $35 conservatively. Some will be higher, some will be lower, but that's approximately what I'd expect you to pay.
Okay, so for $1,000 a week, you expect between 30 on the low end, maybe 45 on the high end,
Yeah,
like 35.
Yeah.
So out of those 35, when I'm calling, how many appointments should I be reaching for as a goal?
So this is like a challenging but achievable goal. Sit with half of your leads, and then close half of your leads. So your conversion on your leads should be 25%. So if you get 30 leads, I'd want you to sell 7 or 8 policies. Could you do better than that? Yeah, I had a guy locally here. He'd buy 20 leads, set appointments with 12, and see 11, one no showed him, and he sold 12 policies. You know, like this guy closed 45% conversion, 45% conversion of his leads. So he bought 200 leads, closed 90 policies in 3 months. Like, but that's unusually really good.
Yeah,
you know,
that's on the really good side.
correct.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you've answered all my questions. I appreciate it.
Cool, man. All right. Well, Alex, appreciate you very much. And guys, if you're interested in this kind of thing, I like doing these kind of like one-on-one trainings. Alex is an agent of ours, but I do most of these who aren't agents of mine. Kind of anything goes type of Q&A. If you wanted to participate in this, you're ask me questions as long as you're okay having it on YouTube. That's the catch. Go to davidduford.com/contact and kind of tell me what you'd like to talk about, and then we can turn it into some content on YouTube. And if I can help with anything else, y'all, davidduford.com/FAQ to learn more about joining the Ford Insurance Group. Alex, thanks a lot for being here, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, David.
Bye, guys.